go. Now we're
No worries. Yeah, that's better for sure.
okay. So this is the best part of my house, but I'm out in the kitchen where everybody is.
That's
in
all
my
right.
back rooms where I've been doing all my stuff.
If Amy walks by, just tell her to wave on her way to,
Okay, yeah.
to the kitchen.
This we'll keep this a relaxed environment with this start.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Awesome. No, I appreciate you doing this, man. I think it's gonna be fun. You know,
Yeah,
we've got a
good to
couple
see
people
you.
on. Yeah, you too. You know, just to give you guys kind of an idea of what we're doing today. You know, Scotty and I work together at IMG. Scott's still there. Has been a long time, you know, senior instructor at the academy. You know, really knows the game very well. And I latched onto Scott when I was there. And, you know, he helped me a lot with my game, you know, just from a technical standpoint, some stuff that I'm still working on and, you know, chat through with him. And he got really interested in something that I was kind of doing on the side, which is a program called Live Hard. And so we were I had actually had a call with him a couple weeks ago. You know, we were talking about a round that I had, and I felt like I had like a mental unlock, just through some of the stuff that I've been doing. And so we were kind of talking about that, and I had posted something on Instagram about it, and Scott, you'd made a comment about, you know, man, I wish, you know, you could talk to some of my kids about this and stuff. So, you know, that's just kind of how this opportunity came to be. And, you know, it's just an opportunity for us to kind of talk through. I want to kind of share a little bit about, you know, what I have been doing and, you know, how that's impacted me. And Scott, I'm sure you've got, you know, some targeted questions, just that stuff that you're interested about that could help your students and other, you know, junior golfers and their families that are out there. So let's do it.
So yeah, I mean, what that's exactly what we're doing, and that's how it came up. So at the academy, as I've shared with you, we're delivering online, and we're in week 7 of our online delivery, and we decided for most of the coaches that through the last 3 weeks we were going to do 21-day habit. Scientifically, it's been proven that if you do something for 21 days, you can replace an old habit and put in a new habit. So looking at your post, that's when I decided, I was like, this would be a great opportunity, somebody that's living those habits. And you've been doing it for how long? 75 hard was the start, but you've been continuing on to next levels.
Yeah. So the program, I initially found it through the initial program was called 75 Hard. And then it kind of, the guy that created it, Andy Frisilla, who owns a supplement company, and he does some other, you know, he's got some other companies as an entrepreneur. He created this program, which has kind of developed into a year-long cycle. And basically, so what it looks like, and just to kind of give you guys an idea, it starts off with a 75-day period called 75 Hard. So I started it in September, beginning of September last year. And you go for 75 days, and I kind of got a little cheat sheet over here so I don't miss anything. But you follow a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol for 75 days, 2 45-minute workouts a day. One of them has to be outside, which, you know, depending on where you live, depending on the elements, you know, those can be challenging. I've, you know, run some runs out in the pouring rain and stuff like that just because it's got to get done. You got to drink a gallon of water per day, read 10 pages of a nonfiction book every day, and take a progress picture of yourself every day. So that's what you do for 75 days. You slip up, you miss something, you fail, you start over. I committed to it, and I'll say before I go into like how I started it, you know, I found out about this thing, and I pinballed back and forth in my own head for months. You know, can I do this? You know, is this something that I can really take on? I was terrified that I was going to fail at it because it's a big commitment. And there's no denying that. And if you look at it and you break it all down, I mean, there's very simple things, right? Follow a diet, read 10 pages of a book. You know, all the things individually are super simple, but when you're talking about doing them for a length of time, such as 75 days, 3 months, essentially, you know, not missing anything, you know, just being regimented and disciplined. The whole journey, the whole program was built and designed to increase discipline and mental toughness. So there's obviously a major physical component in that. And that's something I'll talk about a little bit as we kind of go on. But, you know, that was the initial program. So I finished that right before, I want to say, Thanksgiving. And then there are 3 phases after that. So you've got 75 hard, you've got phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So phase 1 I started January 1. It's all the same stuff that I listed just now for 75 hard, except for you add a couple components. You add a 5-minute cold shower. You add 10 minutes of visualization, so dedicated visualization time, sort of like, you know, meditation, but, you know, we talk about visualization a lot in golf. You know, so that's a component of it. And then the last piece of it is to complete 3 power tasks, is what he refers to them as, which are 3 things that you want to commit to doing every day that are going to help move you forward in other areas of your life. So, you know, I chose some things around my faith, you know, just some other disciplined areas that I wanted to make sure that I was moving myself forward in those areas that I was going to complete every day. So that's a 30-day period. So I did that in the month of January. Then I just finished up phase 2, which is another 30-day period in April. So I did that for the month of April. And it's all the same stuff from the original 75 hard. So it's follow a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol, 2 workouts a day. One's got to be outside, drink a gallon of water, read 10 pages of a book, take a progress picture of yourself. So it's kind of an interesting cycle, because you go from like that in the 75 days, then you add some components, and then you go into the next phase and you almost take away and go back to the original, which I thought was interesting. But, you know, the more that I think about it, and obviously I don't know Andy, who created this program, on a personal level, but just paying attention to, you know, what he shares and, you know, those types of things. I think I have a pretty clear understanding as to why he designed it that way, because it's all about discipline and mental toughness, right? And so a big piece of this thing is, if you look at it holistically, you've got the 3 30-day periods, and then you've got the 1 75-day period. So you're looking at about 6 months out of a year. But the kicker is that last period that I'm going to do to finish this thing has to take place the 30 days prior to when you initially started. So if I started September 8th of last year, which is I think is when I started, that means I'll have to complete my last phase this year from the first week of August to that September 8th date. And I personally think that the reason it was designed that way, and I think that he would agree if I had a chance to talk to him about it, would be that in those in-betweens, you're having to make decisions to keep the train rolling or not, knowing that there's another dedicated period coming. So it's like, what do you do in between? And that's up to you. You can do whatever you want. You can blow the diet. You can, you know, cut the workouts. You can quit drinking as much water. All these things. But, you know, I personally got to a place for me where I just wasn't happy with some of the discipline that I had in certain areas, and I wanted to change that. So I wanted to hold myself to a higher standard, push myself further than, you know, I was pushing myself, essentially just maximize out what I'm capable of. And so that's the reason that I started this thing, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been really challenging, but it's been super rewarding physically and mentally. And so, like, the crossover here is just, you know, our conversation with golf. Pause a little bit. Sorry, did I cut out there?
Yeah, you're fine. You're back.
Okay. So, you know, I'll just pause and kind of, I don't know what kind of questions you have maybe about like my initial, you know, why I did this. I think I covered a little bit of that. I don't know if you want to go deeper into anything there. And then obviously, like, we've had conversations about, you know, the crossover in golf being such a mental game, and kind of some of the things that I've started to learn and figure out as I'm going through this. So what do you think?
Yeah. So what, Maddie, what I'm most interested in, you know, I've been coaching junior golf better than 2 decades, and we're always looking at performance. At the end of the day, the kids want to perform. They want to shoot better scores in tournaments. And the fastest way to do that is to feel confident about themselves. As a golf coach, golf instructor, what I've always learned to do, what I try to hold myself a standard to, I'm trying to find the root cause of problems to why their confidence is low. And speaking with you, when you and I started discussing this, I said, you know, been doing this forever, for 20 years, and I still sometimes don't take it as far back as you've taken it.
Yeah.
Where, you know, to me, root causes can be starting with the diet and the exercise, because those lead to focus and discipline.
Sure. Yeah.
Focus leads to clarity, and clarity ultimately will lead to confidence. So, you know, I'll be chasing the root cause sometimes back to the right hand grip, but it can go further back than that. If you're somebody that really has some habits that need to clean up, diet, sleep, working out, to gain that mental focus and discipline to be able to actually achieve those skills and develop confidence. That's where it starts. And that's why I'm so interested, because your golf game, as you've talked, you were shooting rounds, you've played better than you ever played. So the performance was there based on taking care of some of these root cause things.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I've seen, you know, there are obviously physical components that you talk about, the grip, right? Like there are fundamentals to the golf game that you have to be consistent with ball striking and, you know, to become a good player. But there's a huge mental piece of it that we talk about a lot. But what I've really started to learn just for myself and applying this, and you see, like, I don't know if can you see comments on here?
Yes. Agent Golfer, hey, how are you? Somebody said, hey, Scott, how you doing?
Yeah. Will Ellegard. Oh, Luke Cantello. Go Sox, he says. We'll have to erase that one.
Go Sox. I just moved out of my Sox den. We had to move into an internet spot. I'm in my happy place back there. I got my Sox and Celtics and Patriots gear all hung up. It's my den.
Yeah, yeah. But I kind of want to jump in, like, because I think this is an applicable question. So Will Ellegard's on too, and I've got him asking about, well, what if you don't like working out, you know, but want to? Is it just discipline? So it's interesting because, like, I've talked about this on my personal page a little bit, where, like, for me personally, I struggle getting started. So, like, I really, like, it's tough for me to get into. Once I'm in a routine, I'm good. But, like, this last week where I ended that, you know, last phase, this last week, I've been kind of lazy. Like, I haven't worked out as consistently. I kind of, like, I got to the end and I was like, all right, my body needed a little bit of break. So I took a couple of days off, but 3 days turned into 4, turned into 5. And I've had some workouts in between, and, you know, I'm doing pretty decent with my eating and stuff like that. But it's tough. Like, so when Will asks a question like that, it's like, I get it 100%. And so for me, what I've tried to go back to is, and when I started this journey at the beginning, it was actually Shannon's idea, my wife, you know, you need to write down, like, why you're doing this, because there's going to become a time when it's just going to suck and you don't want to do it. And you have to be able to look back to something and remind yourself why you started this in the first place. Because if you don't, you know, it's going to be easy to fail because you're not really going to have, like, a concrete reason as to why you went into it. So I did. And, you know, my whys were the biggest one, and it kind of seems weird, but it's just a phrase that I used to say all the time, was like, does it have to be done right now? And so, like, it's just such a powerful thing because it was kind of bleeding into different areas of my life. Like, take the dishes, for example, which is a small thing, right? Doing the dishes. Like, all right, great. Yeah, I'll do the dishes. Like, do they have to be done right now? Like, I'll do them tonight. Well, then inevitably what happens is you get busy, you don't do them tonight, and then it's tomorrow and you're still looking at the same dishes that are sitting there. So I guess to answer, that's maybe a long-winded way to answer Will's question, but you got to figure out why you're doing it and then put things in place that are going to help you get there, and have a why that's powerful that you can get back to, like, yeah, that's what I really am trying to accomplish. So, hey, you hate working out. Like, so do a lot of people. one of the things that I've figured out is the aftermath of working out is the rewarding piece, even as challenging as it is while you're going through it. When you're done, you feel so much better. And so I think it really just boils down to like, well, what are your goals? And if working out and fitness and mental health and, mental toughness and discipline are things that are going to help get to your goal, then you just need to do it anyway, is the answer. And it's not like a fun answer because it's hard, but this challenge is called 75 hard for a reason. Like, it's not easy. And so it's just one of those situations where you just got to do it anyway. So, when I made that decision to do it, I just went all in on it. And so it's really helped me. And I've just started noticing a lot of things. Some of the stuff that we talked about, when I called you, I shot 71 out at Lakewood National, the Commander course, a week and a half ago or so. I played it at 6,800 yards, probably 71 with the wind. Good distance for me. I'm 290 off the tee ish, but scored really well. And I was talking to you about it, where I think this was kind of the point where we realized like there's some information here to really tap into. Is I started figuring out that I was going to play this round and only hit one shot at a time. And, I know you as a golf coach have said that how many zillions of times to players at tournaments.
That's good.
So, but it's hard to do, right? It's like, and so what I'm starting to learn through doing this is, and it actually takes me back to a quote I think I shared with you. I was listening to a Tony Robbins podcast, and he had Conor McGregor on there. And if anybody knows anything about UFC fighting and or Conor McGregor, regardless of like, take the distractions out of it, just look at him as a pure fighter and visionary and, from a discipline from that standpoint. One of the things that he said to Tony Robbins was that he started figuring out that the only way that he was going to really take it to the next level mentally was to push himself as hard as he could physically. Because when you wear yourself out and you really gas the tank and you got nothing left but just like what's here, right? Like what's in here, you're going to really start figuring out what you're actually made of. And so, but that's not something you can just talk about. Like, there's golfers out there that work with mental coaches, and, we have those discussions, pre-round and planning and stuff like that about your mental state and, being positive and, stuff like that. But I'm really a firm believer now that I'm kind of putting myself through this, that one of the ways that you can really ingrain it in yourself is to push yourself physically. And it's going to help you with not only your physical health and your strength and your flexibility and everything that you need that way for golf, but it's going to help you understand how to unlock that mental piece and have the discipline to stay in that focus when you actually need to do it. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I don't want to just keep blabbering on, but
no, that's exactly what I'm looking for. If I had a student on here, I would say they must have heard this online programming. Let's be honest, has been very challenging and hard for everybody. The kids really have to commit to it, and some of them have been fantastic. Some of them have decided that it wasn't quite for them. But how you said it was brilliant, Matt. I mean, I've said to them, if you define your why and you have those goals set and written down and you understand them, your standards and habits just have to match those goals. And that's as simple as it gets. So if Will Ellegard's on here, if he has a dream, he has a vision, he has something for his future that he's written down and he wants, the plan has to become that those standards and habits have to match that vision. Because to achieve that, you're just going to have to do the little things and the small things and the things that nobody wants to do. But those are the difference makers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, for me, it's like, you can do that. And don't get me wrong. Like when I was Will's age, and well, I'm talking to you if you're still on, I wasn't good at that. Like I'm 34 years old, and I'm really, over the past couple years, starting to understand the stuff that my dad was trying to teach me 20 years ago, right? And so unfortunately, I didn't latch onto that at the time 100% like I could have, because he was a really good example for that. But now I'm starting to kind of see, like, as I unlock those things on my own, like having a lot of aha moments, I guess you would say, which is exciting for me because, like, you know, my dad actually made a comment to me when he was talking about, you know, man, I wish I could do something like that, you know, the 75 hard or whatever. And I laughed because I said, well, you do that stuff every single day. It's not anything new. I mean, there's a couple things like, you know, maybe cut out a glass of wine every couple of days or whatever the case is. But the working out, the discipline, the, you know, the reading, the, you know, all those components, like, he does every day and has done for as long as I can remember, you know, outside of like just some small little injury stuff with running or, you know, whatever stuff like that put him down. But yeah, I mean, it's, you just have to do it, or you have to just accept the fact that you probably won't get to where you want to get to if you don't do those things, because there's a lot of other people out there that are. And I mean, you look at, like, you know, we got that whole, like, The Last Dance that's going on right now. I don't know if you're watching any of that.
Absolutely. Devouring it. Couldn't appreciate it.
It's such a, like, I personally, like, I like Michael Jordan. I wasn't like a huge Michael Jordan fan, I wouldn't call myself. Obviously, I mean, you're a Celtics guy. So, I mean, there were some battles there, right, between, you know, the Celtics and Jordan. But you still have, like, as a competitor, as a, you know, just a athletic professional, you have to look at that stuff as an example. I mean, same, you know, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, but same thing there, right? Like, just an absolute, like, work it to the bone. I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not doing, but if you want to really elevate it, you better jump on my coattails and, you know, ride them with me, because this is how we're going to get there. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know
what
if
I found most fascinating with Jordan, who's said to be the greatest basketball player of all time. Some agree, some don't. That's irregardless.
Yeah.
But it's the losses. It's when he was down. It's when he was in pain, when he realized that, you know, he couldn't beat Detroit without becoming more physical and putting on 15 pounds. It was the games that he lost that made him take that next step, the 75 hard, and say, I'm going to push through everything, through the wall, to get to that, back to the championship, or his first one with Detroit, beating them. So it's the losses and really that can teach you the most, and when you have most growth, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you look at Jordan, you look at Kobe. You know, Kobe was the same way. He had teammates come in, hey man, I want to shoot with you before practice. Great, I'll meet you there at 5:00 in the morning. They'd show up at 4:30 because they're going to beat Kobe to the gym, but unbeknownst to them, he's already been shooting for an hour before they even got there. So it's like, you know, those little things, like, what are you doing to give yourself the edge, not only physically, but when you do stuff like that, you're giving yourself a mental edge also, because you know that there aren't any other people out there that are doing that, or probably very few people out there. I remember, it kind of takes me back to a quote that my dad had when we did our podcast together, which I'm pretty sure you listened to that episode with my dad, but he was talking about how his coach, that he, you know, kind of his mentor growing up, used to tell him, you know, just remember that whenever you decide to hang it up at the end of the day and, you know, go home, there's always going to be somebody that's still working. Because when you look at the world, and we've got, you know, different time zones, and, you know, people have, you know, just different setups, you know, that they're able to work on their game at different times. No matter what time you quit for the day, there's always going to be somebody working. So is there a little bit extra that you might be able to put in before you actually, you know, pack it in for the day? And yeah, I think there always is, right? I mean, there's sacrifices in everything, but I guess what I'm getting at too is I just think that there's so much opportunity to increase the mental focus through the physical component And that's what I've really learned through this whole journey. Because you can talk about it, but you have to practice it. Like it's a muscle that you have to flex and you have to build. You can't just, it's like, you know, talk about Jordan again. Like you can't just go out there and knock down the game-winning shot, right? Like you have to have put yourself, how many of those did he miss? You know, you have to like put yourself in those positions to be able to get out there and actually execute it. So, and you have to practice it. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it.
Well, I appreciate it, Matty. I really like the way you're communicating this message, and I thank you for it. I've got, my son's been back from college, and I've got to spend more time with him over the last few years. You know, my son, Nathan, he attended IMG for 6 years. He's a soccer player, and he took the holistic approach. He took advantage of everything that the academy had to offer, the nutrition, and worked out, and he got himself in good shape. But he never performed on the field. He was always a middle of the road soccer player, very average out there, and he never had confidence. And it was very frustrating as a parent to watch it and see that this guy with some athletic ability that's working hard just couldn't have the confidence to use those skills on the field in competition. And at college this year, he goes to Rollins College. The coach up there he pushed them in the gym and physically to limits that he's never been pushed before. Yeah. And by going to those extra miles, by doing those things and getting pushed to that level, his confidence shot through the roof. And he just got a scholarship next year to go to college, and he's got awesome. A spot on the team. And so everything just started coming together, and I thought he was in great shape. He thought he was in great shape. But to my original point, to what you've proven and what my son Nathan is teaching me, he wasn't in good enough shape. It just wasn't allowing him to feel confident enough to use those skills on the field and compete. So absolutely, I'm so interested in root cause, attacking weak links, if you will, and getting to those things that if you improve the one thing in that person, everything's going to clean up. And for Nathan, I would have never thought it was, but it was his physical fitness. Yeah. And now he's a guy that stands on the field and he's very confident and, he's ready to go. Yeah.
No, it's awesome. I mean, you got to just keep pushing yourself, right? I mean, if that's what you want, like, and I think it kind of boils down to like just being happy, like what makes you happy. And so if you're setting goals to make yourself happy, then what is it going to take to get there? And, from a golf perspective and what we're talking about, to elevate yourself to an elite level, you've really got to put in more work mentally. But I think that you can really do that by doing it physically. So, I mean, obviously, I'm kind of proven that I'm by no means an elite golfer. I'm pretty good. Your son obviously has proven that through soccer. There's been testimonies from all kinds of athletes that have put in the work like that. Those that rise to the top 1% are doing these types of things to set themselves apart. So, what can I do to help, like, any further, like, do you have anything like you want me to talk about anything else, related to this, or what can I do to help?
I really don't. I just wanted you to be a testament to anyone watching or any opportunity that I have to share this with my students, the importance of doing these little things. If you have goals, you have a vision for yourself, you're just going to have to do the hard work. And Matt, there's so much that to take it back a step further, you and I, our relationship and our friendship at this point, one thing that I've always respected about you is you're such a genuine person. You recognize that each individual is different, and you're very real to that. You're very true to that. There's different pathways for everyone. And you're very, you see how you just said thank you right there? I have to make a comment right now. Saying thank you, everyone listening, if you're still on, this man has taught me one of the greatest lessons, and I'm trying to improve it every day. I'm still terrible at it. Saying thank you when you receive a compliment. I often ruin compliments by devaluing this statement, acting overly humble, because internally I'm thinking this prevents me from sounding arrogant. And the problem with that is deflecting the praise of a genuine compliment. I don't acknowledge the person who was nice enough to say something. And Matt is so confident when he says thank you. I praise people when they do well. And Matt, you shake my hand, you look me in the eye, and you say thank you. And it's just so impressive that you don't shy away from that and you own it. And it means a lot to the person that's saying thank you. So one of the greatest things that you've taught me and in our friendship and what I'm trying to continue to learn. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
And yes, by the way, I did watch the podcast or listen to the one with your father. You've done some fantastic podcasts. They've all been wonderful. I've taken my notes and grabbed little pieces from every single one of them. But I see where the deep-seated root values and morals and character, where they come from. And I appreciated that podcast the most. I really thought he knocked it out of the park, living life every day hard and just developing those great habits. And it was a treat to listen to your dad, to be totally honest.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anything that you remember specifically?
Yeah, everything. I mean, I've got my notebook. It was just what you said. It was that each one of those little pieces, he knows exactly what his values are, and he refers back to him. He says, I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to take care of my faith. I'm going to take care of and he has them compartmentalized. And having that tree and those values right there, those 4 or 5 things, everything just trickles down from there. And it just makes him, that's his why. That's his why. And it makes the rest of it not so hard. Yep. And it's just, it was inspiring to hear somebody that was, again, so genuine about it, so real.
Yeah, you made me think. I'm going to look off for a second here because I'm going to try to find it real quick.
I have my notebook out in my den, but we've moved location to this, to the kitchen, and I don't have all my notes with me.
That's all right. I'm trying to find, I think I found it. It was something he said that I actually made into like a little video with words on it afterwards and reposted it. But we were talking about discipline. And because I just asked him, like, you know, obviously he's been a good example for that over my whole life. Like, how have you stayed so disciplined over the years? And one of the things is like exactly what you said, you know, I'm going to take care of, you know, these 4 or 5 things, and, you know, everything that I do, I'm going to make sure it maps back to, you know, one of those. But what he said specifically about discipline was discipline really comes from wanting to get better and succeed at something. And like, that's a super powerful thing in my opinion too. Hey, look, Tom Crinion just joined. Remember old Tommy?
Do I remember the Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
Love the haircut. I hope he's still got, I don't know what he's doing with his hair. I'd love to see what it looks like right now, because he always had it tight on the side. And
that's right. You know, Tom, send us a picture of your hair.
Tom, send us a picture, please.
But that quote, like, I mean, it's just such a powerful thing to reflect on, right? Because like, it is that simple. It's a pretty simple, like, description of what discipline is, but at the same time, like, it's just really powerful. Like, what's important to you? What do you want to get better at? What do you want to succeed in? Okay, prove it, basically, right? Like, if that's what you want, like, don't just talk about it, like, actually put things in place to get there. So, you know, I think specifically with the junior golf world, I mean, it's tough to do that, you know, as a young kid. I get that, you know, because you've got so many things going on, you know, and I think that if you can find a good balance, but also pay attention to, you know, making sure that you're doing things that align with what's important to you, you know, hopefully that makes you happy. And if it doesn't make you happy, then retool it, right? And try to figure out, like, what is really going to make me happy, and then set some new boundaries and some new goals. And, you know, maybe that's to play at the highest level. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's to have aspirations of playing professionally. Maybe it's not. And that's okay. Like you said earlier, like everybody's an individual and everybody's different. So as long as you've defined what that is for you and you're able to map then your actions to try to get there, I think it works. You?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Again, I steal a lot of lines. I'm not always original. Our director of golf, Kevin Craggs, he tells the kids, you know, tune into the radio station WBM. What's best for me? So you've always got to be honed into that. I've known too many junior golfers and successful amateurs trying to be professionals that, you know, they were very focused at a certain point, but then all of a sudden the horse blinders come down. They start looking at what others are doing. They lose sight of who they are and what their value is and their path, and therefore they don't achieve that goal that they were trying to achieve. So stay tuned into what's best for you. You've got to learn what your best version of you is and develop your own plan, your own 75 hard. But everybody's successful. That's what they're doing. They have to choose to do those little things. Matty, if the why is powerful enough, if you really want it bad enough, you're probably going to end up doing it.
Yep, for sure. I agree. Anything else you want to chat about?
Yeah, there's a lot I want to chat about, but maybe not live. We'll catch up at another point. I really wanted to, I'm going to send this out to my kids if we can get some kind of copy or somehow, and
for sure
we'll reinforce. It's so good to hear people, rather than just talk about doing something, somebody that's in action live, that's going through it and seeing the results of it, seeing the performance, as we said.
Yeah. Well, and what I'll say too, before we kind of move towards wrapping up, is I don't want it to come across as like a highlight reel, right? Like what I'm talking about and like the successes of it, because there are major challenges with it too. Like in between the phases and trying to figure out what to do to keep your momentum and trying to stay disciplined and, you know, those types of things. Or like, you know, I shoot 71 a week and a half ago and I shot 78 at the end of the week, or 79 at the end of the week. I shot 78 yesterday and shot 35 on the front. So like there's things that I'm still working through. Like it wasn't like I shot 71 and was like, all right, I'm back in the saddle. Like this is what it's going to be forever going forward. I'd love it to be, but I'm also like, you know, shooting 35 on the front yesterday. That was something that was a good takeaway, but I was 3 under through 6 holes. So, you know, where did I miss there? You know, where did I, you know, mentally, it wasn't a physical thing. I just, you know, maybe I got in my own head a little bit too much. So, but my point in saying all of that is I feel like if I can continue to push myself physically to kind of keep digging deeper into that mental capacity, the consistency of what I did a week and a half ago is going to show up more often rather than yesterday, 35-43.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And again, to reiterate that the failures, most of the champions, they've taken those failures. It's how they've handled those, what they've done with them, how they've grown from those licks, if you will. If Will Doctor's still on here, him and I talk about taking a lot of licks, and you know, how are you going to handle those? And you saw Jordan, he took every one of those failures and it motivated him to new heights. He did what he had to do from those failures. So it's not always just shooting 71. You gain benefit from seeing what you need to improve on. Yeah,
for sure. So, well, I appreciate it, man. This has been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, always.
Kind of broke me into a new territory here, which I like. I think I can foresee a couple more of these coming down the pike. So, you know, for those of you that are listening, I'll repost. I'll save this video. Scotty, I'll send it to you so that you can put it up with your folks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll save it. I'll repost it if I can here, or maybe on Facebook, or I've got a LinkedIn page too for junior golf keys. So I can do that. And then let's see what else. I think what I'm also going to try to do is rip the audio off of this video and then just upload it on my podcast as well, so people can listen to our conversation there. So I've had a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I think it's been beneficial. Hopefully some people see some value and, you know, pull that out of it and helps them in their journey.
Hey, any time spent with you is of value. We're brothers, and we're always going to help each other out. So I'm always here if you need anything, Maddie. Thank you for all you are. And again, how real you are. I couldn't appreciate that more.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, man. Have a great day.
See ya.